Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for tonight's special edition of HR Mentorship Series. And the topic we'll be looking at is strategic human resource planning and performance for small and medium enterprise. Our facilitator today is Dr. Funke Medun, and I'd like to announce now, even though we also do that at the end of the session, that today is our birthday. So this is a special, very special session. And this is a special time and extremely valuable time she's devoting to, share knowledge with the HR community and the global community in general. I would like to read the profile of Dr. Funke Susan Medun. And I'd like us to pay attention so that we get to appreciate her and even listen more earnestly to her presentation. Funke brings several years of experience that spans business development, relationship, team management, building and maintaining strategic alliances. She holds a first degree in geology. She has an MBA from the prestigious Lagos Business School and Atlantic University, Nigeria, and she has a doctorate degree from Paris School of Business, Paris, France. She's a member of the Chartered Institute of Directors, Nigeria, Chartered Institute of Public Administrators, Nigeria. She's a member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, CIPM, and a licensed human resource practitioner, HRPL. She's also an alumni of China European International Business School and the IESC Business School Spain. She's an associate member of Women in Business and Management, WIMBIZ Nigeria. She's an author, practitioner, scholar, sought-after trainer, and guest speaker. Funke sits on the board of a few organizations and strategic committees. She's also an alumni of the United States of American Government Exchange Program Academy for Women Entrepreneurs. Funke is an accredited World Bank Business Development Support Consultant, a seasoned professional with many years that cuts across banking, consulting, and entrepreneurial development. As a BDS consultant for World Bank and employment projects, she also works for the Bank of Industry and Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, Leap World, United States African Development Foundation, and so on and so forth, on their different employability and entrepreneurship program. She's the pioneer program coordinator for CEIBS WEAL program in Nigeria. Funke was an interviewer on the Small and Medium Enterprise Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEs, MAFTA UK aid accreditation of BDSPs in Nigerian project. She worked in the project to certify staff of SMEs and consultant on the MAFITA project. She has also consulted and trained on the Federal Government of Nigeria UWIN Concepts Enterprise Development Project. She is currently a director at Leap World Limited, a management and BDS service consulting, assessment, empowerment, training, and human resource management organization. She also has ample experience in banking sector prior to her joining the consulting industry. She worked with leading banks in Nigeria, including Zenith Bank PLC, Guarantee Trust PLC, in different departments and capacities. She was also the country manager and head of business development of a consulting firm with head office in Canada. She has pioneered several business units, successfully managed several teams, mentoring and impacting great skills and results. She has a multi-sectoral work experience and has worked with several thousands of MSMEs and several large enterprises up to top management and board level. Our work experience covers private, NGOs, and government, both at the state and federal level. Funke is also an active community developer. She is the pioneer president of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management Members Cooperative Multipurpose Society. She is a member of CIPM's Research and Publication Committee, member of the MSME Development Committee, and so on and so forth. She's also a member of WIMBI's Advocacy Committee and has served as a member of the WIMBI's Capital Committee. She is also, like I mentioned, a member of the Lagos Business School Alumni Association, and she served on the President's Dinner Planning Committee and Fundraising Committee. I can go on and on and on. Ladies and gentlemen, let us show her some love, appreciation, warmth, and let us wish her happy birthday in the chat box as we receive, especially on our birthday, Dr. Funke Medun, teaching us on strategic human resource planning, performance for small and medium enterprise. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oluyemi Adeosun. Good evening, everyone, and it's a pleasure to be here. I hope I sound like a very big girl. It's a delight to be here this evening, and I look forward to a great time with all of us. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the greetings. So great. I'd like to do a quick check with us. Okay, today we are going to be talking about strategic human resource planning and performance management for small and medium enterprises. And, you know, just to have a feel of the audience and to have some form of engagement, to know that I'm not here alone by myself. How many of us work in small and medium enterprises? Again, I know that whether we work with small and medium enterprises, we all do something with small and medium enterprises. Even people in the large enterprises, they have them as vendors. They have one or two things they are doing with them. So just a quick check in the chat box. If you work in an organization with less than 200 personnel, okay? I said 200 personnel. I want to say in the chat box, say a yes, a no. So you work with, no, let me put it this way. You work with more than 200 and above, yes. Okay. If you do not work with an organization that has 200 and above employees, say no. So let me just have a feel of where we work, okay? So I work with 200 and above, say yes in the chat box. I work with, okay. I work with less than 200, say, okay. Yes means I work with above 200. No means I work with less than 200. Okay. So I have a feel, we have a mix, that's good. So let's roll, okay? Good. So we go to the next slide, and this is a bit of my table of contents, what I will be talking to us about today. So today I'll be looking at, oh, thank you very much for the greetings. So I'll be looking at small and medium enterprises. What do we even mean by that? So I think that all of us say MSMEs, SMEs, I hear that, but what do they really mean? Which companies do we classify as SMEs? How does it affect, how does SHRP affect these small businesses? How do they see it? What are the benefits to them? Okay, and for the people that work there, so I'm going to be looking at it from different lenses. I'm going to be looking at it that some of us work as either employees of those organizations, or we are HR practitioners in those organizations. So we are stakeholders. I can also look at it from the fact that some of us manage those kind of organizations. So we are here to have a roundtable discussion as stakeholders, right? So Mr. Adeosun has introduced me. That's moi, like you said. I'm an advocate of SMEs. So you can see that I said, moi, c'est l'avocate pour SMEs in Nigeria and generally. Okay? So let's go into it. You see, there's a quote by Aremu and Adeyemi in 2011 from the research they did, that the performance and growth of SMEs is a major driver and indices for the level of industrialization generally in Nigeria and in different parts of the world. This has been proven by research. So this is a sector that we can't ignore at all. The SME sector also has global recognition globally. And, like someone that has been playing in this space, I can say yes to this. So we give an overview of what happens in this space. According to the World Bank and most credible research authorities, SME plays very significant roles in most economies. And I'm going to give you some stats from Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. So if you look at some of these stats, according to the report of 2020, SMEDAN did a survey wide in Nigeria with the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. And these are the findings that small businesses, they contribute 46.31% to the national GDP of Nigeria, okay? They account for 96.9% of the businesses that runs in this country, for people that are Nigerian. I've given a background that world over, they are very important. So we can't even joke with them. And as at that time, when this survey was done, they contribute 87.9% of employment. So whether we like it or not, we can't joke with them. We can't say, oh, we can't keep complaining about they don't have structure, they don't have system. So what do? How can we make it better? Because these people are the greatest employers of labor, okay? And that's what they contribute to gross export. So they are very key in the economy and, So how do we know who is SME? So know your category. I have some sessions I say, know where you fall into, your category that you fall into, so you know where to play. And this also will give an understanding for those people that work with small businesses or medium enterprises. If you understand who they are, or if you are playing in that space, they have different needs, they have different characteristics, they have different ways they behave. You'll be shocked that someone that worked in a large enterprise, by the time they start their own business, sometimes you wonder, oh, really, is this the same person? Because business has a face and you must go through it. And I give an analogy a lot of times that if you have a baby will first have to crawl, okay, before the baby can start walking and before the baby can start running. So let me ask in the chat room, if you see a 4-month-old baby that is running, please, what's going to come to your mind? You can chat me up. What will come to your mind? It's not this boy is 4 months old, and the person is running everywhere. Please, what will you say? You will run away. I can imagine. What if you see a 5-year-old boy that is still crawling? What will come to your mind? What will come to your mind? Let me hear. 5 years old, still crawling. Okay, someone said that first is a miracle. But now 5 years and this baby is crawling. What comes to your mind? The baby needs deliverance. The baby needs help. Okay, so this is it. So small businesses have their life. And so people live it. And I'll talk about different stages of this. I want to set a background first so that, when we understand where they are coming from. That book that says Why You Act the Way You Do, okay, by Tim LaHaye, you can now relate it to them and probably see, okay, if I find myself in this kind of environment, these are the things I can do to help and get the best of my career or to grow, or maybe if I want to exit. And if you start your own business, you start also looking at some things to make you grow. So you don't want to crawl forever, okay? And if you work in an organization, how can I help them by not making them at 5 years old to still be crawling, And if they are running, it looks something abnormal. Maybe they are not doing something right, okay? But the whole idea is they must pass through those phases. But how can we fast track, accelerate, and put catalysts in place as HR professionals to help them? So let's come back to the classification. Now, according to a survey that was done by SMEDAN, I've given us some insight. Then we have what we call national policy in Nigeria on micro, small, and medium enterprises. So the national policy in 2021 to 2025 reviewed the 2017 MSME survey report. MSME means M is micro, S is small, M is medium, and the E there is enterprises. In fact, now we have what we call NMS SME. Nano, micro, small, and medium enterprises is what we have now. So according to the NBS, and that, over time, this goes through a lot of changes and reviews too. So nano used to be people that want, those women you see start selling things by the road, me and myself holding limited, they are called nano enterprises. Okay. And according to the turnover, they have less than 3 million per annum. So know where your organization plays, and you see whether I want to stay here, whether I need to upgrade, or whether I can help them, right? And how can we help to be fast? Micro businesses, according to these classifications, employs between 3 to 9%, and they have between 3 million to 25 million annual turnover. While small, you can see as I've displayed on my screen, and medium have 50 to 199. And see, that was why I said, how many of us work with 200 and above employee-based organization? So that we know whether we are working with small businesses or not. Some people look at it on turnover. But you see, when we have an ambiguity in agreeing on classification, I can be a real estate business, myself and 2 freelancers, and we're doing 1 billion. That doesn't make you a medium enterprise or a large enterprise. You are still, depending on where you fall or the category you fall under here. Okay. So, and this is how this works in this situation that I am talking about. Please, just a moment. So I want us to take a moment to look at what I have displayed on my screen here. Are we still together? Can you hear me? Am I still here?
Yes, you are, ma. You are good, ma.
Okay. Okay. I
You
just
can
want
do
to
the screen
know.
full screen, ma.
Okay. Sorry. I also want to turn off my camera. Okay. So this is what we see. And so this gives a background of what we have in this space. I'm going to also give us a few minutes on now. This organization and businesses that we are talking about, what makes them SMEs? They are not the same way. They have different challenges. And there's been researches that come to tell us what their challenges are. So despite the fact that they contribute significantly to the economy, look at some of the challenges that they have and their top priority needs, according to 2020 Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, for the people that are Nigerians. Okay, if we're talking from that context, to set an overview and understanding. And look at what they said, 48% of them says that lack of well-trained personnel and staff, so HR matters, is a key pain point area for them. Okay. And really, this is a very serious, critical matter. So take a moment.
You can proceed, ma.
Yes, I know, I'm here. I just want to take a moment for people to. So I'm going back to my original screen, and I want you to look at it, and I'll ask 1 or 2 questions. Let me ask. Yes, are we together? Are we still here? So given what, are we still here? Are we together? Let me hear yes, no, 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 no. I'm not coming. Yes, I intentionally left my screen on. Okay, I can see that we are on. So what I want to bring out is, when we ask some of these MSMEs that what challenges do they have? You know what they usually will tell us consultants? They will say that they have issues with funding. Funding is always one of the issues they say they have. Then they say personnel is another issue. In fact, they report you HR people. Let me tell you now. So I did a survey another time, and we were trying to say, would you take HR professionals? How do you think they are helping your business? My sisters and brothers online, they have issues with HR matters in their office, but they also feel they're not getting the right support from the professionals. We will come to that later, and I'm going to talk about it. So how can we use SHRM as professionals to work with this sector and be able to work together as one? Are the things I want us to start thinking about. You know, I was talking about businesses have different life cycles. And I said, if you see a baby that is crawling at 5 years old, what comes to your mind? If you see a baby that is running at 4 months old, what comes to your mind? And I said, everybody must pass through that process. So again, you want to know, where is this organization that I'm working on? Do I want to stay in and be part of the ship, or do I want to bail out? So you have to understand where they fall first in their classification and what category of business they are. And that will help you to decide how you want to work with them. Okay? So typically, when business starts at existence or idea stage, we call them existence or startup. And that's their growth phase in their life cycle. Okay? So at this stage, if you work in those kind of organization, and I will let you know why you're having those challenges, is that at that phase, they don't even have assured cash flow. In fact, nothing is clear. Whether you are startup in the tech system or in the HR space, consulting or whatever, that startup phase has a problem. Then if you are able to transit, it now depends on how fast you have systems and structures in place. And HR structure and system is a key component. And talking about SHRM that we're talking about today, strategic human resource planning and performance system, is also a key component that will help them to move from a stage of their life cycle to another. So if you're in that organization and all you do is complain, then something is wrong. It's either something is wrong with that organization, with you as a professional there, or with both of you. I'm sorry if I sound like a bit harsh, but that's the reality, and that's what we found. All right. So if they move from survival, some people die at survival phase. They don't even pass through that stage. Okay, but by the time they are moving to growth stage, they're already having guaranteed cash flow. They already have defined customers. They have defined products. They have some kind of visibility. Okay, and you know, things are a bit stable. They have some bit of structure and system in their organization. And at that stage, they can move to maturity. So maturity market is stable. Okay, growth is not as fast. And you can see that from survival to growth is very steep and fast. Okay, or they can move from there to, if maturity, if nothing is done at maturity. So it's not so hyperbolic like you are saying. It's up and down, up and down. You grow, you die, you grow. But you must be moving. And even if you come down, you must jump up again. So at maturity, and that's the problem a lot of people have, they can't innovate at that stage. So at that stage, they start declining. So at the stage when a business is declining, you either come up with innovative measures, revamp your system, and rebirth yourself, or you die. And it's possible that a lot of them die, or you can decide to exit, sell off your business. So anything can happen. So I usually will say that any organization you want to work for, you need to know their vision. Do they have an exit plan? And having a strategic HR planning system in place will actually help every organization. Okay, because human beings are the key assets, like we say, of every organization. And research has also proven that. Okay, so why are we talking about this topic and what is it even about? So the strategic HR system requires things that have requirements in order to ensure that we have the correct number of employees, necessary skills are in place and available. I did a research on how knowledge management system can help small businesses survive. And I was looking at what they were doing before COVID period and during COVID period and after COVID. And I was trying to see how knowledge management system in the organization, whether it helped them in any way or whether it had an impact. My findings were very interesting. So my findings shows that generally people that have that, and it was a mixed method, so it wasn't even just survey. And I spoke to almost 400 MSMEs that participated in that survey in Lagos State. And it shows that the people that have a bit of system in place around HR and knowledge management, they were actually able to pivot. But I also looked at the different dimensions of that knowledge management, and I discovered that a key component, which is also hinging to what we are talking about today, was very significant in helping them, okay, to survive. So, and that's why I'm saying that what we are talking about today has a key role and factor in how businesses in the small business sector can grow. And so if you happen to find yourself as an HR person, you know how to plan and ensure performance, you are going to be a key asset in that organization. All right. You know, so finance people will say they have financial reports. Now we even have HR reports that ties to numbers. We have different metrics, you know, that we measure. So how are you tying to making employees account for performance in that organization as small businesses? And as small business owners, how are you planning? It's even worse now with this Japa era. Okay, it's worse. So small businesses are not even spared. So I was at a program, a meeting before now, and one thing they were even saying is some vendors these days, they give you validity period of same day. So it's even tough for planning, okay, to plan as a business and to plan as the people that will deliver on those targets. So now we have more challenging issues at our hands as HR people, as business owners that are managing people, okay, and it's a global challenge. But when you have an understanding of how you might, you know, it's not just human resource planning. We're talking about strategic. So meaning that there must be a strategic intent and implementation. Okay. So when you have this in place, it helps you to meet current and future demands for talent. It allows them to anticipate what is likely to happen, especially with this era of disruption. Okay. Like I said, that we don't even have the kind of time. So what has changed in the past and now? Time is not anymore on anybody's side for planning. So you have to think on your feet. The workflow system and structure and culture has also changed. So from the employer's perspective, in planning and managing your people to deliver on what you've done, I had said that even my own research shows that HR, human beings in that organization, are the ones that will deliver. And research has backed that up. And I showed you even evidence from my own research that I did recently. All right. How not just having a system or tech. So now we use tools, we use all that. Challengingly, small businesses have short resources. They have stiff resources. So they depend more on the few people they are able to work with. They're very few. Look at when I showed you the numbers. Imagine someone working with 3 to 9 persons, and you have a lot of disruption, and they are leaving today. They said no system, no structure. So if you're an HR person in that organization, it's tougher to work. In fact, you have to also have your own head's eye to say, do I want to exit or not? But you see, we can be a messiah in that organization as well. And I say to people that, look, no employer is good or bad. Everybody has their own interest. As long as you protect the interest of that organization, you will be key. You don't even have to be there forever. But will you make an impact as an HR person? As an employer in a small business, will you also be strategic about your planning? Okay. What skill set? What are you even doing? So I see some people, they just recruit, or some people will say, this is what MD says. No, it's not about what MD says. It's about what have you brought as a skilled person to show MD. And you know, we've been talking about metrics, HR metrics, that go with numbers, go with figures, go with research, and don't bring it from outside. In fact, someone was telling me, and I have to confess, that it depends on the policies. And I'm like, is it just telling me what the policies say? Or you are telling me Do you want to be reactive or proactive? You have to be proactive. Don't come and tell me this is what the policy says. You already know what the policy says. But what did you do to ensure that the policy is followed? To ensure that the business is also helped. You don't want the business to lead, or you don't want to say this is best practice. So you have to help the organization, both in the quality of talent, in the way you innovate. You have to even innovate now that workforce, people want to work from home. People want to do 9 to 5 job, have fixed salary, but they don't want to work with how 9 to 5 or fixed salaried people work. So there are so many disruptions in the system. And we're talking about people that will help the organization to perform. It's tougher for small businesses because they're not very structured like the large enterprises, especially the micro and the small enterprises. What's for the micro? Okay. In fact, another research that I did recently about 100 businesses, small businesses, and a lot of them don't even have the training. So you that you are coming, you have to be the skilled expert because the person you are even working with has skill challenges. Are we still together? I don't know if anybody is hearing me. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, you can
Yes, we are
chat me
good
up in
with
the
you.
chat room.
We are good
Okay,
with you.
good. All right. So what are the aspects of strategic human resource planning that we need to look at if you find yourself working in a small organization or if you are the owner of a small organization? So pay attention to these 5 areas I put on the board, and we talk about them one after the other. So look at it from, and I say always look at things from cradle to death. So when I say cradle to, if it is in the human being that we're talking about, how do I plan the people, the resource, from how I bring them in to even when they're exiting? Okay, so, and that's what I said, from cradle to death, from the recruitment and selection phase to when they come in, how do they need to, how are they performing? Okay, how do I compensate them for what they have done to make them to do more or better, despite our lean resources? I've already told you that small businesses have lean resources anyway. I told you that some of them cannot even pay their bills. Is that bad? So I hear a comment in the group sometimes and I laugh. You know, you have to know what it takes to start a business in Nigeria and run a business. So maybe you will even appreciate small businesses. I'm not saying that it's good to stay small. If I have a problem when people stay small, and when I see you 10 years ago, you started with yourself, your briefcase, me and me limited, even as consulting. And I'm seeing you 10 years after, you are still in that space. I have a worry. And that was when I gave that analogy that a 6-year-old still crawling, or there's a problem if you're still crawling at that stage. So you as an HR person, should I stay here? Am I the Messiah God has sent to them, or I should stay here? Take a decision. But when you find yourself in that kind of place, understand where that business is and take a decision what you want to do. There's no point staying there and be crying foul or be complaining. Just take a decision, stay or leave. I'm staying, these are the things I need to know and do. I'm leaving, then go for greener pasture, okay? But don't be like a China in a bull town, a bull in a China shop. You are not moving, you are not going, we are both all not happy. It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't even help that ecosystem. Anyway, it doesn't help you either, okay? So from how do we recruit for small businesses? The way you recruit for small businesses is different from the way you recruit for a large enterprises. The system and structure available to you, they are different. So you have to know the differences first. Okay, but having known what is on ground, what can I do? How should I do it? Okay, from managing performance to the training and development system. And all this can actually happen in a small business. Some small business owners think that, oh, HR department is not important. It is important. You don't need to go and employ a Mr. Oluyemi Adeosun that we need to pay him like maybe 1-2 million, or I don't know what Mr. Adeosun earns, But we know that he's not a small person to have in a small business organization. But there are ways you can engage Mr. Adeosun, okay, to help your recruitment and selection system. And it's not bed of roses, so you also have to know that. So what kind of training will be available in that kind of system? What obtains in a nano is different from what obtains in a micro, is different from what obtains in a small, and different from what obtains in a medium enterprises. To succession planning, okay, especially if you want to help that organization to grow. And be proactive and strategic are the keywords. Very, very important. Okay. Now, what are the 7 steps that we can use to help them to plan? So let's look at it from step 1. From step 1, if we can see my slide, step 1 is when you get to a small enterprise, the first thing is you need to understand the objectives. And that will determine, see, I know some people that joined, in fact, I have a friend that joined an organization as a youth corps member and rose to become the MD of that organization. No, he was DMD. He didn't become the MD. So they joined when the organization was small. Do you know InterSwitch that is a unicorn today? This starts as a big organization. They have big dreams. But do you know, you don't want to understand their story. There's a book I'm reading, Successful Nigerian Businesses and How They Started. Do you know that a lot of them started from their bedroom with some of their staff? Some of them, 10, 20 years down the line, they've grown so big that you can't even remember how they started. So I'm saying that they are prospect for growth. And some even, in fact, there's an organization that I know that is about 14 years old that started from the room of the founder. And they are global now with international presence. And they have founding staff with them, okay, that rose to grow. So you have to, but the first thing you need to do is whether to stay or leave or to help. So you decide, and I need you to make that decision instead of complaining. Decide whether I want to stay, I want to go. If I'm staying, what are my decisions? I want to help them grow. I just want to while away my time. Whiling away time is not good for all of us. Well, maybe good for you is win-lose. But I want to help them to grow. Might be win-win. You try, it doesn't work, then you take a decision. I exit, I stay. So you must think of what decision. But what can help you make that decision? Analyze the objectives first. When you find yourself in a micro, small, medium enterprises, is there a vision statement? What is the vision of the founder? What do they have in their head? Yes, they're not clear, it's not rosy now. If there's no vision or you can't feel the fire or passion, then maybe you want to exit. And if you want to stay, stay honorably, okay? But if you want to exit, exit and go to, you can be advising them from externally, it's fine. But you must know that there's an objective in that organization. What are their business objectives? Then you come in as HR, or you are the owner of that business, doubling as many cabs, or you are doubling as many roles in that organization. You are supervising people. What is the big picture for that organization? What am I doing in that unit in planning? If I want to plan, what is the objective for this plan? What do we want to do? What projects are we going to do? Then the next thing you should be thinking about is, what do we currently have in this organization in terms of skill, in terms of the human beings, okay? What do we want to do? We want to do this turnover. In fact, you should be looking out for people that are doing strategy. If you find yourself where they're not doing the strategy, be a gold and say, sir, can we have a strategy session? Introduce new things. Don't be a loafer in that place as well. If you'll even be losing. In fact, the best place to learn a lot of things is small and medium enterprises, because you'll be exposed to so many things. A lot of people can easily even leave to start their own business if you want to be an entrepreneur in the future, if you're not the loafer type in that organization, okay? And if you happen to work with a business that has big picture, okay? So the next thing is, so we were celebrating Fola Adiola, I'm an ex-GT staff, and Fola turned 70. That's one of the founders recently. And, it was a beautiful party. And it just occurred to us that these 2 gentlemen that were friends that formed GT Bank, okay, had done some small businesses together. That wasn't the first business they did. They had done a barbing business. Can you imagine? Together. Do you understand? And do you know they would have pulled some people that were with them at that time? Do you know today they can boast of many MDs in different sectors, even in the banking sector, because they were able to grow people, okay? And, it now became like a family. What am I trying to say? If you are there, don't be a loafer. Make an impact, be skilled, go and learn. Attend programs like Mr. Dioshun, then forecast. What do they want to do? If they don't have a goal, have an engagement, okay? And you must talk in a very diplomatic way. Okay, because the man is looking for how to grow his business, how to get money. All you want to talk to the person about is how to spend money. You must balance it. Say, if we spend this, return on investment is the game. And you must work at it. Then forecast the demand you need of human beings to achieve those goals that you have set as an organization. Find the gaps. Oh, we want to achieve this, but we need a digital marketing person. And you have to be the one doing this. If your MD in that small business is always coming up with this, there's a problem. You have to be the strategic person in that organization. Then come up with a plan. Then start implementing the plan. And don't go and sit. You have to be holistic. You have to be an intrapreneur. To do well in a small business, you have to have entrepreneurial spirit. Okay? Otherwise, honestly, my brother and sister, just go and look for a big organization. That's not your calling. And there's nothing wrong with it. We all don't have the same calling. The good thing is for people that have entrepreneurial spirit, it's easier for them to start their own business or to be MD of other businesses. So and that's why some people will say HR people, when will they start sitting at the table or have a place at the table? I don't think it's limited to any skill. Know the numbers. So there are different benefits if you try to be a strategic person, following the steps that we have made. So this is just like a guide that you can use when you want to plan, the method you can use to plan strategically. Okay. So you can hire top talents. And you see, you have to provide incentives. So you say, oh, small businesses cannot pay. We'll talk about that. You can still get good hands if you find yourself to be an HR person. And these are some of the benefits if you do. Okay. So you can identify with the business needs and plan effectively. And you see, you have a roadmap. You've discussed with the owner of the business. You also are maintaining the costs. Okay. Because if someone leaves, whether even if someone jackpot, do you know if you plan, you can find a way to get that person to still be working. We know there are challenges with remote working, but you see, that would help your cost. There was something I tried in my organization, and you keep looking at strategic ways of doing things. Because we had, let me not say my organization, something that was tried recently. So an accountant, yes, almost chartered, maybe one paper to become chartered, but doesn't have so much experience. Working with an outsourced person that comes around only once in a while. So if as much as that person cannot afford a 10 years chartered accountant, but it's easier to buy the person's time, give the person some incentive and let the person manage and someone that is just starting. So the person doesn't feel choked that the person is reporting to an MD that doesn't have the time or that doesn't even have the skill. So you get the benefits of working with both an experienced hand at a minimal cost. It's all about planning strategically. If you know that skill is needed, but you have funding challenges, what are the opportunities available for you to make it happen? Okay, so you have to just come up with a strategy. To specialized positions are also a bit challenging, especially finding the right attitude. But when you plan strategically, it helps you to do that. Okay, and so you go on like that. Even the way you train, it could be at your knowledge sharing session. You could be inviting them to this kind of program, okay, and recording it for them as they've been trained, or giving them. There are a lot of trainings online too that they can do. So, I mean, when you have the right employee, they can, you can counteract the lack of training when you plan. So it's not when they are supposed to be working, that's when you are saying that they should go and sit in one training or the other. But that's when you are saying, in fact, someone said it because they make me to sit in a particular place. That's why I don't know what they are doing in the bigger office. It's because there was no planning. So the question I ask is, why must you go into the bigger office if you are not supposed to be there? Could you have created one time, maybe 1 hour in a week, if there was a good manager, to say, oh, your job shadowing session for this week, 1 hour, come in, sit with us. It's all about planning, and the work will not be disrupted. It will also help the attrition rates, because when you train people will say, oh, we train them, they leave. What if you don't train them and they stay? You are going to kill your own business. You are the one to lose. What if you train them and they're able to have a repository of the training? So when the next person comes, and that's where this knowledge management system that we're talking about comes into play. And it's not until you get a Funke, Dr. Funke Medu to come and set up the system in your organization. There's some things that you can leverage on basic technology that are even free that you can use. And so even when people leave, they live in the spirit, or they live in the body, but some part of the spirit is in that organization that can help, to still work because you have planned. Right. And see, so if we now delve into what are now the challenges? So knowing that this is good, why are these small businesses always giving the HR people problem? So they will say HR people don't help their business. They just come, they speak English, they talk about labor law, they talk about policy. I can't find the impact on my business. HR people will say, oh, they are not structured, they don't have system, I can't work there, something. There's no job. We are saying have you seen the unemployment reports? Figures in Nigeria. So we keep saying there's no job, but at the same time, people are looking for who to employ. So what is the problem? Can we find a meeting point to help small businesses grow? Since we know that they contribute a lot to the economy. Look at the data I shared ahead. So what challenges do they have? They lack knowledge. And this is very, very true, honestly. The owner of that small business that is 1 out of the 9 staff cannot know everything. They will say they know, but they don't know. I just tell you. And they want to prove it to you, but they don't know. They lack the knowledge. So it's how do I work with someone that lacks the knowledge? But this is a challenge. In fact, another survey that I did, a lot of them were saying in the HR area that they want trainings in management. They want to even understand what they are doing. In fact, maybe these ones don't even have the knowledge. Some people don't even have HR department at all. Meanwhile, how do you have a business that the key assets are human beings? You don't have the time to manage them. You don't have someone to manage them. It's a problem, really. So managers think they can deal with employees' issues themselves. HR is not technical. Shebi is to manage people. Any leader can be HR. Okay, that's another problem. This is a challenge, really. Oh, they say, oh, the cost implication, we can't afford to. So these are key issues, and you have to understand that they struggle with this. Usually 1 to 3 employees, and you are saying that I will now go and pay an HR person. So how do we help to solve this problem? Both as SME owners and as HR people working with them. Now, these are the things we can do in planning and helping these small businesses. So the challenge of limited resources, funding. So they can't afford to do much when it comes to training. They can't do team building. In fact, the man is always under pressure. The man is always looking for money, or the woman. Okay, so HR is the least of their problem, according to them. But HR is a key advantage they need, either as a system outsourced or as implant. So HR professionals in small companies, please, you need to be very creative when fulfilling these needs. Sometimes they don't even listen to you because you are not bringing money to the table. And this is why you need to be part of money on the table. So can you consult third-party business learning programs to boost your employees' morale or help them develop? So don't wait on if the madam or guy has not brought money. Can you come up with free trainings? And you have to find a way to engage and motivate them, even if it's small data, maybe to do 1 hour over the weekend. I'm not saying it's okay, but honestly, that's the reality of the small businesses. So I just like to be very practical. They are not large enterprises. They have their own challenges. Okay, especially if you've done your number 1 to know that there's hope in this organization. Okay, or you can learn in the minimum. So consult industry veterans to see if your work policy is in line. You attend mentoring programs, hear what other people are doing. Do you know some people are making good? Why not sit in those meetings? Sometimes throw the banter, throw the challenge to your community of practice. And you say, this is what do you think? The same way you complain about them, also go there and say, what can I do to help them? In fact, I'm looking for someone to throw that issue. I sit in a lot of community. I don't see people come to say, you know what? I work with a small business organization, and I see they have potential. How can I help them? I have not seen, no, and I'm not joking. I'm always seeing how they abuse them every time. Meanwhile, these people employ 86.7% of the jobs they are looking for. They are the ones employing them. Then my own people that are the employers, I also don't see them talk about how they can get HR people to help their business, but they know that they need help in the HR area. So can we all start saying how to leverage on the community of practice? And that will save us cost in terms of resources. Recruitment and intention and retention process challenges. What can we do in the planning? You can use social media. You can go to your professional network on LinkedIn, okay? You can make use of pre-employment assessment tests that are even free or automated. Don't just say because someone sat in front of you and you're a small business and I need to fill a particular role, or I think we will need this next year based on what the organization wants to do, but we can't afford to pay at that time. Can I have someone that is an intern that will not cost us much now, that we can grow into that organization, into that role? But from how we bring those people from the organization, can I have things to test whether these people even want to stay with us, or these people have interest in what we do? Okay, there are a lot of employment support programs. In fact, we do one that you can even get affordable people from, that will not, that even government is even paying to support your cost as small businesses. Can you get to know what happens in those spaces as HR people and as business owners? Okay. And you see, you may have to have flexible work schedule, especially now that is tailored to them. And if they are experienced hires that you can't have them full time, can you make them to come in 2 or 3 times a week to help? Okay, so these are some of the things we can do in the planning, but you have to follow those 7 steps I said. And some of the challenges that we have that will help you not to be able to achieve, that can hinder your being able to plan very well. And these are the things I'm saying we should. So SMEs needs HR professionals. That is very, very key. So SME business owners, you need HR professionals. HR professionals, SME businesses needs you. Be available. Understand them and see how they think and how they behave and see where the connect is. Okay? Connect this strategic human resource planning to performance. I was saying that in consulting organization, and the practice in small business consulting is different from large consulting. I said people are charged per hour. And you see, if you're on a project, they look at what skill do they need. Do I need a senior consultant? How many hours of that senior consultant needs to be on this job? That's how they build the client. And you are not idle. If your unit is not working, you have to be loaned to another unit that has a project because there's a cost on you. But that doesn't happen. So can we start connecting that to performance instead of just complaining? And at the end of everything, whether you're an HR person or you're a small business, people first in the planning. You can't go on that journey of planning alone, but you need to connect it following these 7 steps I mentioned, the method you can use to do the planning to get the result you are looking for. You can't sit back. You need to keep getting feedback. You do performance appraisal. If people are leaving, do exit plan, okay? Do exit management. Don't let the person leave and there's vacancy. No, if you have to get an external support, get it to fill in that process. Be strategic. And that keyword is being strategic. Okay. And having said all this, I just want to say thank you for your time. Okay. And I'm happy to take questions at this stage, contributions, input, clarifications. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that excellent presentation. I can see a hand up and we will quickly allow her. Daisy, you have the floor. You can unmute.
Hello, good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you very much, sir, for the opportunity for this platform. And I also like to really thank Dr. for explicit explanation. So I'll go straight to the point. In short, I just finished writing it in the chat box about performance management. When you were speaking about performance management, in short, is the reason why I clicked on this platform to listen. Is currently like pivotal for my organization. We are less than 14 and we are trying to see how I can align the monthly then quarterly performance management to fit into what the organization really wants. And because the CEO is looking at giving bonuses on a fair space to everybody that deserves it. So aligning performance, what are the key metrics? So what's that thing that would help me align the monthly to quarterly then annual performance so that there is a connection from the performance that we do monthly or quarterly and at the end of the year, where the employee takes the dollar bonus that the organization gives at the end of the year. Thank you very much. That's my question.
All right, thank you. Mr. Adeosun, should we take one by one or we take a number of questions together because of time? What are your thoughts?
Please go ahead. We take one by one. We always take one by one. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's fine. All right. So, one thing I always say in my consulting and practice space, and I also like to do, one thing that has helped me, we are not where we need to be, but we're on a journey, and that's what I always say. You have to look at what the big organizations are doing. Okay, that's my own mantra. How can I take it to my level? Everybody has level, but all of us need human beings. To grow, except you're a nano business, as long as you've moved from nano to micro, to small or to medium, you are working with people. So what are the best practice? How can I scale it to my level? That's the first thing I will look at. Especially, and there are also industry and sector practice. But I can give you something that I know has worked from my experience in the banking sector. And that I also brought to my own business. And I also encourage some other companies to do for small businesses. There's a practice called monthly profitability reports. I don't know if that person can hear me. MPR. And some of my colleagues the banks we worked, we bear me witness that thing is like a hot cake. It helps. Provided you are doing the number in this method, provided you are very serious with your number 7. By the time you forecasted, so for example, in my office, I said, let's do strategy. So we looked at our strategic business units, even as small businesses, you can do that to say, and that's so as HR, you need to work with management. You need to know the mind of management and the accounts person in terms of numbers and who is assigned to do that role. So an example of what a practice will be, you see it since it's bonus tied to performance. So you have financial responsibilities and non-financial responsibilities. You have to separate them first. Okay, and I want to believe that whether you are small, micro, nano, or whatever, you form the process from how you recruit people. They have offer letter, they have job descriptions, they have key performance indicators. If you do not have, that's where you should start from. Because you can't measure what you did not plan. In fact, that planning is part of planning. Planning is a subset of planning. Am I communicating? So when you plan what you want to measure, okay, so when people have their KPIs and they have the jobs they want to do, where do they fit into the products of the organizations or the roles, into the organogram, into the business focus areas, non-financials and financials. So who is doing what? How do you measure what that person has done? So in the monthly profitability report, we tie every unit, every strategic business unit, whether you are financial or not, into roles and targets. And those targets are broken into monthly basis. And each person has a role in that monthly basis. So we start from group targets or company-wide targets. That company-wide target is broken into, depending on your own structure, whether group or division or even small business, strategic business units. Okay, so whether for the people in operations or for someone that is providing dual role, whatever it is, you must fall into somewhere. So we now break what we want to achieve in those areas into months. When we are setting goals, we have what we call leading goals and lagging goals. Lagging goals are the ones that are very broad. This is what we want to achieve. Your leading goals are the specific that you now break into very minute components. Okay, very granular components of how to achieve those lagging goals. And those are the things you are measuring weekly, monthly. So when you break into goals, so in my own, for example, we break into products for things that we want to sell. So into sales, this product, we want to achieve this in this month. This is the person that is the head of that unit that is responsible. These are the support people. When you meet your target, people will know. If you do a weighted system, you will know the weight of what over what. So you have to keep doing monthly profitability reporting. And that will help you to know how people are performing. You know whether they have scored A, they've scored B, they've scored C. So in a lot of banks, or my own experience, so bonuses are tied to performance. So if you score A, this is what you will get. And they have meetings around all those, how the sharing formula. So we want to share 10% of profit. So management has to also be clear. So what are you bringing to the table for all of us? And how do you want it to go? For people that have A's, what do they take? People that have B's, what do they take? At this level, a senior manager that has A, what does that person take? A junior consultant that has A, what does that person take? And it has to be very clear and transparent to all of us. I don't know if I'm communicating. So that is one. If MD wants to do anything extra, let him or her do it from our pockets. If HR wants to do Christmas, let them also do bonus from their pockets. If they want to do extra to merit. But you see, that monthly profitability reporting must be happening. In fact, one of the organizations I work, they do mid-month. Is that bad? Is that serious? That we will do mid-month profitability reporting. We will meet and all of us are sitting. Everybody is looking at those numbers. So we are not waiting till the end of the year. We are tracking and we've set specifics and who is to achieve that. So it is clear, both on accountable partner, responsible person, so you will know. So that is the way. And you can decide to say at a group level, this is the compensation. You can now break it down to individuals in that group based on their contribution to how they achieve. But to do monthly, like what you want to achieve, you must be tracking monthly. I don't know if that helps in any way.
Thank you so much. We quickly move to the next person. Modupe, please, you have the floor. Modupe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yemi, and thank you, Doctor. Good evening. I wanted to just pick you up on something, on the fact that you mentioned that if you are the HR of an SME and you're thinking of either staying or leaving, you need to make a decision. Now, what happens when you've decided to stay, but then the former HRs have somewhat broken some trust, and the CEOs, the MD, doesn't seem to trust HR. I mean, I joined this organization and they had issues when I joined, and somehow in a few months, I've been able to work on this in terms of recruitment, in terms of implementing a performance management system. But I can still feel that the trust is not there for the HR. Like, I still feel that they're not extending more to me that I would want to help the organization achieve. Now, how do I manage this? Because I'm thinking if they can trust me with more, if they can let me come in fully to help the organization, even though they can see the success that I've achieved in the last 4 months, then I would like to leave. So how do I speak to it? I mean, I've tried to do this directly, indirectly. I've spoken to numbers, I've done some presentations, and I know they're happy. But then I can still feel that they're not trusting, HR. They're just still not trusting it because of what the former HRs have done. And I can speak to that. I mean, at some point I was thinking that perhaps I'm outside HR, even though I'm an HR professional, like the things that should have been done, the foundation that should have been laid by my predecessors were not done. When I came in, I wanted to board in like 2 weeks. But of course, I decided to stay to help the organization. But I'm still feeling like the trust is not there. I put in so much work here. I've seen results in 4 months. I can tell you, but I'm not feeling the trust. What do I do? Because I'm thinking of moving ahead, maybe find somewhere else where they can trust me with the work that I've done. Thank you.
Okay. So Modupeola, see, I'm clapping for you first.
Thank
Can you hear my claps?
Yeah, I can see
Do you
it.
know why I'm
Thank
clapping
you.
for you? Yeah, I'm clapping for you because you said something that touched me. You said, I wanted to say to help this organization. That's the first thing to do, and that's a great spirit. So that mindset is great. I want to stay to help. Do you understand? And for me, that's the starting point. Now, the issue is you said something that what your predecessors have done, like I say, we take decision based on information available. I don't know what your predecessors have done. So like, what do you think they have done? That can help me to address specific. This looks like a specific issue because there's no one size that fits all, really.
All right, thank you. So joining this organization, I assumed that I met the HR manager there. So I thought that, some level of, putting in place policies, performance management. I mean, this organization has been in existence for over 10 years. But getting on board, I'm realizing that these things are not in place. I mean, in my head, I'm like, an intern could have done this. So why am I having to script this? It's like pulling me back into the basics when I thought that I'm just going to come in, my strength is in performance management. So I thought that I'm just going to do much of that and perhaps a bit of other things and then try to see where we move from there. But I saw myself being dragged into creating policies from the scratch and all of that. So I thought I shouldn't be doing that. Like previous HR should have done all of this. So that's the issue.
Okay, so that's the issue. So you think now, my understanding is you think they don't trust you to do performance management. That's why they're taking you back to start from policy. Right.
No. I'm doing everything together right now, but my contract is actually contract. I would have thought that, okay, they'll look at it and tell me, okay, we want you in fully.
So it's not a matter of they don't trust you, but they are giving you beyond your contract. Is that the problem?
Okay.
They are giving you tasks that are outside your contract and not making you to settle down.
Exactly.
How many are you in the organization? And so
Over
it may not be a
100?
trust issue.
Okay.
Over 100, but you are still a small business. You are
Yes,
a small, based on that classification we did. So you are a medium enterprise. Okay. Okay. So medium is even still good. Imagine if you are in a micro business, my sister, it will be worse. You might be taking Panadol most nights. I mean, that's on a lighter note. So and I will talk from someone that is in that sector. So this is me. In the last 10 years, I would have dealt with over 10,000 MSMEs or more. I mean, I said over. And I'm also in this, I do things in this category as well. I also consult. So it's a space I'm very, I understand. Can I tell you that sometimes the owners don't even trust their own judgments? I mean, is that bad? I told you when we were I said stages of business, and I was taking you through the business cycle. And sometimes people move from one cycle to another cycle. And that's a first, understand the basis. If you do not understand where that business is, you'll just be struggling. If a business is still at the existence, survival, and growth phase, so there's a lot of back and forth. For example, this owner, I don't know who the person is, might think that, you know what? Yes, I employed you to come and do performance. But performance is not our headache now. Let's even go back to the foundation to have policies that will help performance. And that's the truth. If the foundation is not strong, like they will say, the Holy Book, one of the Holy Books says that, if the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do? Nothing. For example, it could be the foundation that is the problem. Maybe they were not supposed to recruit someone to come and face performance. Maybe they need a generalist in that organization. But sometimes, we don't even know what we need because we are still at the survival and growth phase. We keep trying this, trying that. I don't know if you get my point. So if you don't understand what cycle this business is, it will be frustrating. I can't lie to you. But if you understand that, maybe this is where they are, you will understand how they think. I say why you act the way you do by Tim Laye might be something that comes to my mind. That, okay, you behave this way because this is where they are. So you need to help them to come to what can help them. Unfortunately, maybe that's what your contract says. And that's another problem with small businesses. People do many things because we need to survive. Because we don't even know the one that is going to work or not going to work, but we want the business to work. Okay? So you as the experts need to help shaping the system, but you need to understand where they are to be able to understand how to help them. The language is different. The language that you speak to a survival stage business is different from the language you will use for a growth phase. It's different from the language. So you have to understand the language. It is not just about numbers. It's also probably about empathy. It's also about how to engage that person and make them see reason. Negotiation skills, communication skills, if you really want to stay. And I can tell you that this will happen in a lot of small businesses because it could be the stage of business they are. When they are in the growth or maturity phase, they're more stable. They can afford consultants. They will not even call you to come and do performance and tell you to come and be doing policy because they've passed that stage. In fact, they will have specialists on different desks. But if they are not at the maturity phase, for example, or not at the high peak, the upper limit of the growth phase, there will be back and forth. And so they will see a need. And they're not experts. So it's you that will probably have to find out, do they really need this? If there is something on ground already, maybe something went wrong can you try to find out why they are doing what they are doing? Because for me, the first place is the why. And that was why I asked you that, why do you think they don't trust you? By the time we delve into it, we saw that, okay, maybe it's not about trust. It's about what they think they need versus what they employed you for. So you need to have that conversation. If you don't have a strength in policy and you think it's not going to work for you, honestly, you can offer to, I always say that whatever decision you take, please leave on a good note. That's what I always say. There's nothing saying that you can, if you leave, you can still be on outsourced pattern, on a flexible work pattern with them, if you really think they can grow and if you want to help them. But really, it could be that is happening because of the stage of business they are, versus vis-a-vis what they called you for. And really, if you don't have a strong policy, what are we using to measure anyway? How are you going to hold people accountable if there's no policy? So if you think there's already a policy, then just dust it. Do that quickly and give it back to them. If you know that's not what they called you for and you don't want to do it, it's a decision also. So at the end of this, sister, the ball is in your court. I don't know if I've shared some insights on what can help you take a decision.
Yes, please, amazing. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you
you're
so
welcome.
much. We'll move on to Oluwatosin. Oluwatosin, you have the floor, please.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Good evening, Mark. Thank you for the training section. It has been quite insightful. And I'm a young professional in the field of HR. So I started the HR journey sometimes last year. And my first HR professional was more like a leadership role that I would say I don't know if I was quite prepared for. So having joined the company, and I realized I was going to be in charge of a lot of things. And one thing I realized when I joined the company, there was no like a proper onboarding for me. So it was much more like I was thrown in the middle of the ocean to survive on my own. And when I joined the company, there was no processes, no HR processes and procedures in place. So I was able to tackle some of the challenges. I was able to come up with policies, was able to put in some implementation as to the policies and all. And even to the extent that there was no data, when I say data, no employee data and all. So I was able to handle that. But currently, the issue we're facing in the company, people are leaving. Employees turnover rate is too high, and it has always been like that with the company, because when I check past records of people, you see people coming into a role, spending a month, 2 months, and they are out of the system. And when I joined the company sometimes last year in the second quarter, and with the few people that have left when I'm there, most time when I'm conducting like an exit interview, it has always been a particular problem. They make sure they keep emphasizing on that. They don't like the feedback they are getting from the MD most time when they are doing performance review for them. The MD, the DMD, that they don't recognize the achievement and all. And I also, as a person, I believe that even when we are giving feedback as a leader, we have to be constructive in giving feedback. So everything shouldn't be about what we've not been able to do. At least we should be able to say, okay, this person, you excel in this area, you need to work more on this area. So the issue has always been that, okay, the work environment is toxic, the way the MD, the DMD talks, and people are leaving. And every time I get a resignation letter like that, it gives me headache, because I know I have a positions to fill and all. So I don't know how as an HR, because I've gotten to the point, when I joined the company within like 2 months, I wanted to quit. But I really want to make an impact. And I've already spoken with the DMD and the MD about it, and they told me, they were going to watch out and things like that. But it's still happening, and people are leaving the company. People are leaving. And for instance, a particular position, you are putting 3 people within 4 months. I mean, it's just it's too much performance. And also, as a person, also I believe that in terms of performance management, also maybe because though getting to the position, then I realized that even with the studying, with the certifications and all, there's a big difference between textbook knowledge and having like a practical knowledge also. So I've been doing research and looking out for how can I manage the performance of employees and all. And for instance, in the sales department, for me, I believe that as an HR, there should be like an onboarding phase like this transitioning period, but they believe that as a person, as an employee, especially if they're a salesperson, they believe if you are coming into the organization, you just have to hit the ground running. And I've tried to explain to them that there has to be this transition process for them. We have to put them through the onboarding process, introduce them to the system and all before we can start expecting them to bring this also amount of millions per month and all. So this has been the issue in the company. Once someone comes in, especially a salesperson comes in, they're expecting you to bring so millions within how many months, even without even understanding the business yet. So this is the dynamic I'm facing now. And I don't want to quit. I want to make an impact. But I'm getting tired already. So I don't know how to go ahead. I don't know how to move ahead.
All right. Let me clap for you too. So I'm clapping for you because you said, I want to help. I want to stay. I wanted to quit, but I didn't quit. So I've given you another clap. So
thank you.
You know, like I said, that no one size fits all. And whatever decision you take at the end of the day, it has to be your decision. You know, I'm just advising. At the end of the day, the decision is yours. But whatever decision we take, let it be the best we could have taken at that point in time. And you see, there's nothing hard that can't be solved. You told me that there's an onboarding problem. So from what you told me, we already see clearly that there's an onboarding problem. Now, let me tell you how small business owners think. They don't have deep pockets. You don't know what it takes for that man borrowing to pay salaries. I'm telling you. So if someone is borrowing to pay salary, banks are not patient for them. And these are small businesses because their pockets are not deep. Their expectation of when they should start getting results on their investments is very quick. Unlike if you've gotten to that growth or maturity phase, where you have stable cash flow, so you can play with many things. I don't know how many you are in your organization or how long they've been around, but if they are the phase of survival or they plunged back into that phase, or they are still not at the upper limit of growth to maturity, they do not have stable cash flow, you don't know, or they may know. It's always a pressure point. So if we think, and you said I'm sure they are also concerned, right? The two of them are concerned, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am, they have.
Okay, and they are talking to them. I'm not saying this is good. I've worked in a place where people take turns in the bank. It's tough. It's tough in the bank. I said people take turns to go and cry in the toilet. It's okay. I'm not joking. And I'm talking about what I witnessed personally. That you sit in a meeting and by the time they wash you like this, you go to the toilet, you go and clean your face, you come and sit at the meeting again. Another colleague is going. It's not a good place to be. But you see, I'm not saying it is good, but it can be, that pressure can be that much because people are expecting return on investment. See, we've said there's a problem. I don't know how much they pay. Probably, do you want to change the system, how people come in? Maybe instead of having people come in at a very expensive level, do you want them to come in at a level? You have to be the one that will be strategic now in the planning. We're talking about strategic planning. You have to understand why they are always under pressure. Do they feel like they are paying so much and they can't wait for people to perform? Small businesses will think like that. You can't change it. That's what makes them different. You know, I said that you have to understand how they think. If there's no stable cash flow, it's always a pressure area. Okay, so if that is the problem, my sister, you have to re-strategize your planning. If they only have 10 million, for example, to bring to the table in the next 3 months or 1 month, and they use it to pay people they don't know will perform, they will be, in fact, even you will join. Because and so you have to really understand and be in their shoes because they don't have the pockets. So if you are bringing someone at 1 million naira per month, for example, do you want to look at the planning again and say, you know what, maybe we should have them in grades? Can I have a 200,000? That will be a junior level, and we see how we can grow that person. Maybe, I mean, this is just an example. I really don't know what will work in your system because, like I said, from my size doesn't fit all. I tell that small businesses, they are not loyal to anybody. Once you perform, you are their best friend. I'm telling you. And what is performance? Helping to meet bottom line. Small businesses, just meet bottom line. They will love you. You are the best in that organization. And I say, What are they looking for? You are either helping them to make money, you are helping them to save costs, or you are making their brands to do well. Those three things are what they are looking for because they need those things to grow. Helping them to make more money, save more money, or improve brand. If they cannot trace what you are doing in that organization to it, there's a problem. They don't feel they get value for their small money that they have. Their monies are not much. So they don't have that patience or laxity. So do you want to bring them, instead of 1 million times 5 people, do I want to create a graduate system, even for the sales team, to say, I want to bring them at a level that will cost me lower, but I can groom them. They will not be under pressure of facing the MD. Maybe you change the structure of that team. Let them have a boss that is the person facing the MD. Sometimes I also feel it is not fair when managers make very impatient owners to deal with junior ones because they will be under pressure. You know, the way a junior one will deal with an owner managed business they're two different things. They can't take the pressure. So shield your MD. I think sometimes HR people are also not fair. You're not shielding your MD and you're not shielding the staff. Unfortunately, maybe you are the one in the middle. Sorry, I'm sorry. What's your name? So you see that bus goes from left, right, center for you. Sorry. Do you understand? You have to shield both parties. And so if you let the very junior ones in the restructuring, so they don't feel under pressure, they are able to give them more time to perform. While the ones that are taking the 1 million, I mean, this is just an example. I don't know the exact amount. Let them be the one that is taking the hits so that the other ones have time to grow. So you may just need to look at, and even at the point of onboarding, sometimes I think HR people says very nicely. They don't give reality of what is on ground. So people come in with an expectation that is unmatched with what they find in the organization. There's a case, for example, that I know. The person has been around for 4 years. And the person keeps saying that what the HR person told her was not what she's eventually doing. And those HR people told the owners something different. So there's always that conflict in how that person performs because HR gives a different picture from what the person is supposed to be doing. Why not let them know before they come in? It's not everybody that must work in every place. Maybe they are not a fit, sorry to say, for that. There could be a better fit somewhere else. Honestly, if you put a dog in water, they may not be able to swim like that. Put a fish on dry land, they can't perform well. So again, it could be from the recruitment process. They're not getting the people with the right attributes to survive that organization. You need to have a word with the MD to let them know the cost implication of attrition as well. You have to keep doing it. And you have to come up with options. You need to bring options to the table to say, look, we have a problem. In the last 10 months, so people have left. It costs us so amount and time to recruit. It's not good for the business. These are my options. These are what I think can work. Option 1, option 2, option 3. If you can help them to solve that problem of people staying and meeting targets, do you know they will love you even as HR? I don't know if you get my point. So I think you just have to look at the onboarding. Maybe you take onboarding, a bit of onboarding to at the point of sourcing to let them know what the organization is about. In their day one, before they throw them in, design an onboarding system and show them. So if you had that problem, other people are likely to be having that problem. And I think you should find the root cause of why are we not having onboarding? Or what is onboarding to you? What is onboarding to the business owners? What is onboarding to the staff? It is when you find what definition of onboarding means to the different stakeholders, you can now come up with something that can work for in the interim for everybody. And probably you need to change the structure of how people are paid. And it could be you want them to be on performance pay for a period of time, you know, then maybe that will help them to calm down a bit. That the expectation of the people that are coming in can also be managed. So you have to look at your options and see what works. I don't know if I've been able to answer your concern.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
We have a question, that's A and B in the chat box. And the question is from Damilola Isiade. She says, how do we address the issue of hiring family and friends by SMEs that won't allow proper performance appraisal for them? You know, the owners hiring family and friends and they won't allow proper performance appraisal for them. Second question from the same person, why do SMEs call for transformation and they never listen to the suggestions by the HR professional.
Okay. So to the first one, my sister, it gets as a B. So how do we address issue of family and friends? Do you know sometimes they bring family and friends because of trust that someone mentioned? I don't know. That could be the reason. Sometimes they feel that there could be backup plan, that they will not leave them. My brother has worked with me and left me. So my own is, in fact, I don't even like having family and friends so that we can face the business. Do you understand? So that we can face the business. It's called business. Family is different from business. Okay? But they know their reason. I don't know. Whoever is bringing family and friends knows the reason why they are bringing family and friends. But at the same time, you need to be comfortable. Maybe those are the people they are comfortable with. And by the way, there are family-owned businesses that are doing well. So having family and friends is not really a crime in itself. But if they are not helping the business, that is where we will have a concern. And they are not allowing us to. So I think let them do whatever they want, but have your own performance system in place. So send the appraisal to them like every other person. If they fail and they keep them, that's not your own call to call. Let whoever has that power. Everybody has their power in the organization. Let the person take that decision. Just document your own track. That is what is important. In fact, if you help them to document the track, it can help them take a decision. But when you don't have a system that documents track, that's where the problem is. So if there was not one in place, you may struggle a bit to and that's the truth. You know, let's be very realistic. You may struggle a bit to start keeping one, but that is what will solve that problem. You need to have a system that keeps record of their performance. So you must have a performance management system. They must have offer letter. Everybody must have a file. You know, open a file for them like every other person. Give them offer letter. Give them KPIs. If it is a new person coming in, start with them. If they're already existing and that record was not in place, sister, you have to find how to make that happen. It may be tough or may never happen, but that might be a solution that can work. You need to have tracks. Okay, then but you have to also understand what's on the mind of that person. Maybe that will help first. Why is this person bringing family and friends? You have to find a root cause first to know how to attack that problem. But from my experience, documentation, keeping tracks, keeping performance records helps. Sometimes it tells those people to go on their own, you know, because they have information to take decisions. And sometimes those people perform. If they're performing well and you are keeping track, I don't have a problem with that. But I'm not really a family and friends person, for example. Whoever you are, just perform. That's my own. You can be anybody, you know, just perform. Okay? And sometimes I like to separate friendship from business. So why do SMEs call for transformation and they never listen? Because they are not speaking their language now. They are speaking HR language. They are not speaking the language of the business. They are speaking all the theories they taught us in class. They are not talking about how that they are the ones that you know, I said they call for a lot of things that they don't need because they are still in that survival and that's why you have to understand how MSMEs behave and what stage they are, so you know how to manage them. They behave differently along that different business cycle, and the language you speak at every point is different, but ultimately for them is what helps them to make money. If they call for transformation and all you are telling me, I can't see where my money is, I will not listen to you. I'm sorry. So I need to see the money. SMEs want to see the money because they don't have money. Some of them are borrowing. A lot of them are struggling. So and that's why I say you have to take a decision whether you even want to work for an SME in the first place or not. The stories are different. But you see, if you are good and you are lucky to find a good one, you can grow and that business can grow. And I've given examples of all these businesses you think. A lot of them started small. Channels TV, you need to read the story of Channels TV. Do you know businesses in Nigeria that started? A lot of them started very small and they are big today. So it's not a crime to even start small. I have a problem with when you're a small business and you're not ambitious. I have a problem with that. And do you understand? That's where I will have a problem. Okay, so you need to speak the language. Because language is money. So you have to do the numbers in money, not just HR metrics. In money, in Naira and Kobo, cost implication and return on their investments. Okay. So I'm just scrolling through to see if there are more questions in the group. And I think we've answered. So another one is the organization. Okay, you asked, what are through with the questions? We have a shout out, organization gradually to the next level. So I think engagement is key. Yes, I agree with you. Please, in regards to responses you gave to Mudupolo, kindly give specific policies that can be put in place to measure your contribution. I don't know whether I answered that. So I gave an example that, and I know what they do in some organization, what I also do, or I advise other businesses to do. I said MPR is very good. So you put people, you can put that some people say that because you've graded it, so you know whether the person is scoring A, B, C. Ab initio, we've agreed that if you score, in fact, performance promotion is tied to your performance. So I know in some places they'll say performance promotion policy. If you score 2 A's back to back, you can be promoted. In fact, do you have a grade system? We have something that, unfortunately, the problem is always the HR person and the onboarding. Sometimes you see that the HR people are not behaving like business owners. They're not communicating the gospel of the vision. And so it can really be a bit an egg for the owner of the business, if they're not feeling that same way. You have to inspire the other people in the organization as HR person, if you really believe in it. Okay? So you need to know that you can move from this level. People have to aspire to something. You need to have great system. You need to know if you can stay 1, 2, 3 years on this level. If you have this performance appraisal, then you move to this. These are the benefits of this. You have something like that in the organization. So people want to grow. They want to earn something. When you are doing MPR, we know that this is what will give me A, B, C. And this, in fact, people earn commission. If you bring this, you get that. So you just have to create incentives. It's not just about policy most times. It's about strategy. So HR also needs to start thinking of business strategy beyond policies. And that's the way I see it that works in some organization.
Thank you so much, Ma. We need to wrap up now. Kate Kinsley, you have a question or contribution? Please keep it short.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Yemi. Thank you, Doctor. I just have a question regarding, please excuse me, sorry. I have colds kind of, so I'm very sorry. Okay, so my question is around performance management still. I know we've talked about it, but there's something that had been more like a debate, and that's the vibe I was getting in my office. Now, if you work in a sales company, for instance, and you want to, target has been given to them, and you want to measure performance. Now, the people I have in my organization say that the managers will not be assessed based on those targets, as in they will be assessed based on the general target. So for instance, if a department is given a target of 1 billion, for instance, now they have like 3 people in that department, the leader and then 2 other people. And then the leader says the target of that 1 billion is his or her target. However, she will not be assessed with, as in she will not be given a target, like say you take 500 million, but she would rather divide that 1 billion amongst the other 2. So whatever they achieve is her own, because to her, she feels that that if she splits the 1 billion amongst the 3 as well. So I don't know, but I felt that she also needs to be assessed. She also needs to have some kind of financial responsibilities, so, but I just want to, I'm bringing this here so that I can also, maybe she's right, maybe I'm the one that is wrong. Please, I need help. I just need that thing cleared, because it keeps coming up as an issue, so it's difficult to assess her based on her finances, because it's her team members that she has allocated all the targets to. But she doesn't have a particular financial responsibility, financial target. So please, I need help in this.
Okay, Kate, thank you very much for that question. Now, I always say there's no one size fits all. There are best practices, but no one size fits everything. But we can learn from best
Hello,
practices.
can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Go on, Dr. Funke. With
Okay.
your responses.
So there's no one size fits all, but there are best practices. Yes. So my understanding is, in the example you gave, the manager's target is 1 billion. So what that means is, if those two people with 500 million achieves that, then she's done well. If those people score 0, she scores 0. Is that what will happen, Kate?
Most likely.
We can't get. So I guess that, so indirectly, that person is being assessed to, honestly. That person is being assessed, because if those two people don't do well, she's not doing well as well. If they do well, then she's done well. So the challenge now is, because those two people are being assessed, they don't want to fail. So they will work hard, even without the manager's input. That's what I see the concern might be. That the manager is just can loaf around and latch on what those other people are doing. It now depends on your structure. You know, if that manager is a bad manager, other people will not perform. I think so it depends on the structure. If you have a branch system, the branch already has a target. Target is shared amongst others. If it is a team, it depends on how big that organization is. In most practices, if it is a group, there's a group target. It's shared towards teams. If it is a small team, everybody has a share. The manager even has a big share. So there's no one size fits all, really. What is important to you is that they are performing. See, sometimes we worry about what we should not worry about. Except those two people are complaining and you think you might lose them. And if you lose them, it's the organization that will suffer. Then that's a genuine concern. But if those people are able to work with their manager, maybe the manager helps them to close that deal. For example, there was a system I understood and I was part of. Manager follows, because the manager's target is everybody's target. Manager is interested in what you are doing. Manager follows you on the meeting. Manager helps you to close the deal. So that manager has a target and that manager has a role to play. Do you understand? I also know of another system where everybody has a target and everybody's target also still becomes the manager's target, but the manager has a personal target. That's also a system. It also depends on the system that works for you and for the organization. Anyone that, as long as it doesn't affect that organization, I don't think it's the manager. So sometimes we need to face the problem. But if you foresee that there could be a risk, maybe a key man risk, then I think it's a problem. Because if those two people doing the work leaves, organization will suffer. Manager can decide to resign, you know. So you may need to find what are the concerns of the two people in the team. From the example you gave, you might want to see what is the best practice in that sector. What happens? How are other people doing it? What can work for our own organization? Or you may have to look at other ways of appraising that manager that will push other people to perform. Okay, but managers must also be held accountable for something. But as long as it doesn't hurt our organization, it's a good practice. Other people are not complaining, it's working. There's a succession plan for if they exit, or the manager also can manage the accounts if those people leave. The manager is in the picture. Manager helps them to close. For example, I had a system where I have meeting with my team members when I was the head of head of business development. I understand their prospect lists. In fact, sometimes I close those deals on their behalf. Because either those people they are talking to are people that I know personally that they are still trying to get appointments with, because it is my target. So if they do well, I've done well. So I'm involved in their marketing. So if that is a system that works, then it's fine. I don't know if you get my point. As long as you understand what system they are running and it works for the organization. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Okay, but try to make it better. Identify the risk and put measures in place for the risk. That's the way I would see it. No one size fits all. Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Funke Medun. for that excellent presentation. I'd like to thank everyone who has joined this call tonight, and we'll transit to another segment in the next 1 minute, but we'd like to formally close this session and end the recording now.
Thank you.